we discussed yesterday, Yoginaha Atmani Atmanam Pashya and Akratatmanaha Na Pashyanti. And we said Akratatmanam is Asamskrita Antahkaranaha. One whose Antahkaranam is not Samskrita, not Shuddham. That's a secondary obstacle. Primary obstacle is ignorance. Secondary obstacle is not having necessary frame of mind, buddhi, that can see the things when taught. How to get that buddhi? It requires certain attitudes called as prayerful living. If you have prayerful living, the antahkarana becomes Samskrita. And then he said, Pashyanti Gnana Chakshusha. One gains Gnana Chakshu. Like Lord Shiva, Already we have two, he has third. It's symbolic. Not that literally there will be third eye coming out of a Gnani Purush. Looks like Gnani, third eye is coming. No. Third means seeing beyond what it meets with your eyes. I see only Nama Rupa. But you see the Adhisthana. And seeing gives a knowledge which is free from doubts and error. Even in court of law, eyewitness means authentic witness. There is no doubt about it. Therefore, Shastras have been using the word seeing. Gnana Chakshushaha Pashyanti. They have this knowledge which itself is Chakshu, which gives them knowledge free from doubts and error. But as I said, to have that knowledge, one needs to have proper frame of mind. It is called prayerful attitudes that we shall look into today. First of all, let us understand what is Ashuddhi. When you understand what is impurity, it is easy to understand what is purity, so that you can deal with it. We are blessed as a human being that we have a faculty called buddhi, well evolved antahkarana. When I say buddhi, it involves so many things. Capacity to know, capacity to discriminate, capacity of abstraction, and capacity of self-awareness. There is some awareness in all jivas except human beings, but their self-awareness is limited to not knowing themselves completely, but knowing the things from whom they should be afraid of, and knowing the things what are to be eaten and not eaten. That's all. A cow has some self-awareness in that sense. It knows what to eat and what not to eat. Like Pujan Swamiji would say, Our Indian cow was exported to America, and the mother cow tells the calf, honey, you have to tell like that, you are going to US, be careful. There will be McDonald's. There will be hamburger, hot dog. For a change, if you feel like it, eat it. But only what is on the top and bottom. Don't eat what is in the middle. And Swamiji would add, leave that for human. You don't eat. We are Kamadhenu Gotras, so we don't eat. It need not tell. Even if it's an Indian cow who has never smelled hamburger, doesn't know what it is, why should say they come here now? McDonald's has come to India. So they see this, but never eats. That much self-awareness is there about what to eat with reference to the security, with reference to the nourishment. And from whom to be afraid of, from whom to be kept away. A cat, mother cat, did not teach the baby D for dog. Be careful. No. And R for rat, pounce on it. It is our food. No. They are programmed that way. But a dog doesn't know what is its pedigree. And back in India, in a housing society, they buy, not only buy, they get a gift of a dog from some other banglawala. And they say, when you ask, where did you get from? You know, in that house number 14, there is one Ruby. This is Ruby's daughter. But Ruby's daughter doesn't know that my mom is not number 14. So every evening, can I go to my mom? It doesn't say. That kind of much of self-awareness is missing. We human beings have self-awareness. And there is some self-judgment, conclusion about what I am, who I am. Unfortunately, in that self-judgment, self-awareness, self-conclusion, there are certain facts which are not acceptable to me. In my own self-estimation. What is acceptable or not acceptable is purely subjective to some extent. Maybe cultural, maybe religious, whatever may be the background, is subjective. That I am just 5 feet and 3 inches. In that self-awareness, I is only 5 feet and 3 inches tall. That part is not acceptable. This non-acceptable part of myself makes me uneasy. Makes me self-dissatisfied, discontent. And I find out, I look for the ways and means to get rid of that unpleasant fact. That creates pressure within me. Economic condition, non-acceptable. Social status, maybe non-acceptable. Position in the office, hierarchy, non-acceptable. It slowly builds up pressure. People tell, I have so much pressure in my office. I tell you, there is no outside pressure. It is all cabin pressure. Understand? Inside pressure. Airline, they say, if the cabin pressure goes down, oxygen mask will fall down. If cabin pressure increases, oxygen mask in terms of Swami will fall down. That is the grace you get. This pressure is called Vega, Darpa. It's a force. And the one who can manage this pressure, one who can be relatively free from the effects of the pressure, alone can get the self-knowledge. That is Ashuddhi. Cabin pressure itself is Ashuddhi. What is impurity? Look at this way. What is that which is external to its own nature is impurity. Few ounces of copper in gold ornament is impurity. But a copper in copper vessel is not impurity. That which is external to gold. And that which is external to anything, it always wants to get rid of it. If you heat up the water, 100-degree temperature, and leave out, put it after the gas, water gives up the heat because it is external. If you put it in a fridge, becomes ice, put it outside, keeps gathering the temperature. External thing, want to get rid of it. Similarly, this cabin pressure, nobody wants to have it. Immediately want to get rid of it. And Lord Krishna says, leave aside self-knowledge. Even to be relatively happy in day-to-day life, I need to manage this pressure. Shaknoti haivaya sodhum prak sharira vimokshana kama krodhodbhavam vegam sayuktaha sasukhi naraha. I don't like myself because of self-pressure. This pressure is caused by kama, krodha, lobha, etc. And our Bhagavad Gita tells in simple words, is caused by raga and dvesha. That is Ashuddhi. The raga dveshas which gives rise to pressure within is Ashuddhi. That is asamskrita antakarana. And when you release yourself, there is some valve like a pressure cooker. Psst. That means relatively making my mind free from such vegas. I can manage these avegas. I can manage myself. Is Shuddhi. And as I said in meditation class, this pressure only leads to self-non-acceptance. More pressure I have within, Vega, more I don't accept myself. And when I don't accept myself, I don't love myself. In India also, this has started now. These are all marketing, they are very smart. Valentine Day. And they have to give a rose. And in America I have not seen so much. It is there back home. And I have to say, I love you. I told these college students, when I go to talk to them, I said, before telling anyone, I love you, at least tell yourself that I love you. If you love yourself, then only you can love somebody. It is good to listen. Love thy neighbor as thyself. A fellow doesn't love himself. How can he love the neighbor? Forget about neighbor. Ask the spouse whether he loves her or not. He doesn't. To help someone, you should be a helping person. To give to someone, you should be a giving person. To love someone, you should be a loving person. And to meditate, you should be a meditative person. And to pray, you should be a prayerful person. If you are cantankerous, Mr. Cantankerous, love thy neighbor as thyself, it's not going to work. I can love myself if I have prayerful attitudes. If my life is prayerful, and when I love myself, there will be some relative peace, some relative happiness. Relatively I will be content, and relatively I will find the life worth living. And if there is no love, people look forward to means for committing suicide. Who commits suicide? Who doesn't love himself or herself? Who is most dissatisfied with himself or herself? Avega, relative mastery over mind, is not simply, no, control the mind, think this. No, that's not mastery. That I am free, relatively free from internal pressures. No cabin pressure. I make my mind relatively free from the holds of likes and dislikes. Capacity to manage one's own likes and dislikes makes the person stronger. The free will, as I said, buddhi means capacity of discretion, capacity to discriminate. Buddhi also means self-awareness. And buddhi also implies freedom to act. It's all because of buddhi. Ego is also because of buddhi. Animals don't have that. There is no ego, no much self-awareness, no kind of self-identity. No viveka. They don't have. And they don't have problems also of the ego. But there is a blessing also. It is because of buddhi only moksha is possible. Provided you can make it shuddham, you can make it free from the holes of likes and dislikes. You can make it pure. As I say, there is some freedom, but that freedom is inhibited, is sometimes controlled or regulated by that internal pressure. I am not a free person. If I put it little harshly, there is some Duryodhana in each one of us. Not total, but somewhat. That famous statement of Duryodhana, Janami dharmam nachame pravrutti. Janami adharmam nachame nivrutti. I know what is to be done. I cannot commit. I know what is not to be done. I cannot refrain. That means what? His free will is controlled, inhibited by something else. It is not totally free. That is because of inner pressure of likes and dislikes. What was a like? I should be the king. That's a pressure. I should be the most popular person, most lovable by the subject. Why Yudhishthira? Pressure. Jealousy is a pressure. Ambition beyond, in compromising dharma is a pressure. And that's what Arjuna asked also. In the 3rd chapter there is a verse. Athakena prayuktoyam papam charati purusha. Oh Lord, prompted by what the human being commits papa? Anichanna vivarshnaya. Even though he or she doesn't wish to do. Balad niyojitaha iva. As if forcefully pushed to do. What is that? Some factor outside. And if you are believing in astrology, I think my Shani Saraswati is the cause, not me. No. Lord says it is only inner pressure. Kamesha krodesha rajoguna samudbhava mahashano mahapapma viddhi enam iha vairinam. To that extent, I have this pressure caused by likes and dislikes. To that extent, I am not free. I am bound. Yesterday I said, we should know what is a bondage. To have the things and have relationship is not bondage. That is not samsara. Back home they say in Gujarati, Hindi, whenever the person decides to get married, then they say, अभी संसार में पड़े आप, अभी संसार में आ गए, तब तक बाहर था क्या? संसार में आ गए. What do you mean by samsara? Well, this really happened. One of my students' friend, he didn't get married up to 30, 35. Just 2-3 months ago, he came with his marriage invitation. That time he was sitting and he came to me, and then this fellow asked, hey, you hold on the fort for all these years, and how come now at the fag end of the life you are deciding to get married? What that fellow said, understand, Swamiji, happiness is not everything in life. Coming back to the topic, this self, some part of Duryodhana, that is bandhana. I don't enjoy the freedom. If I can't do what I want to do, and if I can't stop myself from not doing what I don't want to do, that implies there is some vega. That is darpa. That is because of ajiti indriyatva. And all this is taken care of by prayerful living. Please understand. It is quite one thing to pray and quite another thing to be prayerful. Listen this. To pray can be an action only. Can be. Not necessarily. In fact, it should not be. But can be an action only. To be prayerful, it necessitates certain attitude. And the attitude should be backed by understanding. Should be born out of certain cognition. If it's not cognition-based attitude, it doesn't last. Then it is not your attitude. It is attitude to oblige somebody. Or maybe because of some ideals, you pick up the attitude and impulsively pursue the thing. Prayerful living means attitudinal living. And as I repeat, that attitudinal living has to be backed by certain understanding. You can pray without understanding. And in fact in India most of them do that. They don't understand who is God, what is God. Everybody prays. And without proper attitude also you can pray as a mechanical action. It may look like a prayer, but then to be prayerful calls for cognitive change, and which leads to attitudinal change. And that should be there in our day-to-day life, moment-to-moment existence. Then only it is prayerful living. Please understand, prayer involves attitude. Simply repeating Nama Japa is not prayer. Simply doing Pradakshina and Yatra, it is an act of prayer. But it becomes a prayer, even that act, provided it is backed by that proper attitude. And that I can maintain, quote unquote, that I can be aware of that attitude throughout my moment-to-moment existence makes life prayerful. In other words, if I use Swamiji's words, to live in the Ishvara's awareness, then only it is prayer. You cannot have prayer without Ishvara. To be aware of Ishvara's existence. And you can be aware provided you know. Having known the Ishvara, being aware gives rise to an attitudinal change. And to have that attitudinal change, awareful attitudinal change, is prayerful living. And that releases the person from pressures. Yasmat no dvijate lokaha, loka na dvijate chayaha, harsham harsha bhayodvegaihi mukto yasya cha udvegaihi muktaha. Yasmat kopi na udvijate, yasmat no dvijate loka. And he himself also doesn't get upbeat. That same priya bhaktaha, that is a devotee. That Bhagavan says, I like him. That means to be a devotee means prayerful living. To be a devotee means be free from internal pressure, and that is possible by attitudinal change. And what it is, we shall see in our next class. I don't have a schedule, but I understand it's 1 hour class, correct? How do we go about?
Swamiji, it's 9 o'clock. You please space yourself whatever you feel like it, and then we can just have some break.
I think we can have 15 minutes or 20 minutes break and then again come back for every 1 hour is enough. Otherwise I have to have attitudinal change. In terms of converting class into meditation.